Okay, hello everyone. So for this month's Fearless Fridays, I'm here with Grace Chon. So Grace, why don't we dive straight in and you tell us what you were doing before and what you're doing now?
Hi, I'm so excited today to be on your series. I was a art director in the advertising industry. So I was working at a very large ad agency here in Los Angeles, working on national brands, car brands, drink brands, food brands, and advertising is a notoriously stressful job. I don't know how familiar you are with it. There's a TV show called Mad Men that I think is pretty accurate. I mean, it took place in the 60s, but just that very toxic male work culture, the hours. I often say that my job was like being a human idea factory
Mhm.
where, you have to pump out ideas constantly. They get killed in a meeting, and then you have to have brand new ideas by end of day. So very, very, very stressful job. My background was actually in biology. So I got my undergraduate degree in biology because I'm Korean American. My parents are immigrants from Korea, and they really wanted us to get a professional job because they wanted us to have a stable life. And so they really thought education was the answer. They wanted us to get great grades, go to an Ivy League school, become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. I was on the path of medicine. I thought I wanted to be a vet because I loved animals. But my senior year of college, I said, I can't do this. It's my parents' dream, not my dream. And I went to art school, which is how I ended up in advertising. And I tell this story because I felt like I had overcome so much just to make it into the world of advertising and creativity. I had always been a really creative child, but I was told my entire life that it could only be a hobby. So to now find myself in this corporate setting of the ad world where I'm getting paid to generate creative ideas, go out on shoots, photo shoots, TV shoots, for commercials. I mean, it was so glamorous and fun, and to actually show my mom that, hey, I can make a good living being creative. It's possible. You said it wasn't, but it absolutely is. I got to that point, but something about it just wasn't right. And I felt like I had worked so hard to get to this place and it didn't fill my soul.
Gosh, so many interesting things there already, just in terms of parental expectations and then all these beliefs we have around creativity. And as you say, working hard in one direction and then realize, hang on a second, this is not actually the right thing for me. So, what are you doing now, first of all? And then we can dig into a bit more about the transition.
Yeah, so now I'm a commercial and editorial animal photographer. So I found my way back to animals, which I'm so thankful for. And I take images for advertising agencies, magazines, publishers, celebrities, TV shows, pretty much any company that needs imagery for their brands and their ad campaigns. I can do that. So some clients are like Purina, Fancy Feast, Milkbone. I've shot for brands that are not animal brands like Tinder and Nintendo. And I'm also the author of two dog photography books now.
Oh, that's incredible. And that sounds so exciting. And I love how, as Steve Jobs says, I guess you can connect the dots looking back because it makes so much sense now. If, as you tell, of course, you can combine the advertising and the animals and so on. But I imagine it wasn't the straightest path to get here. So, was there a moment at which you thought, you know what, no, this is not where I want to be, it's too stressful, or it's not my passion? Or can you talk us through sort of how you decided to actually leave the world of corporate advertising?
Yeah, there are two very distinct moments that I remember. One of them was I worked at Deutsch, which it was headed by Donnie Deutsch. He's
Mm,
on American news channels all the time as like a talking head. And
yeah.
so he and his father started this ad agency called Deutsch. And he came in to the agency in Los Angeles one day just to give us like a motivational pep talk. And he said something so profound that has stuck with me. And if he said, you should, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was basically just this idea that if you're not as excited to come into the office on a Monday morning and you're more excited to leave on Friday afternoon, you really need to rethink what you're doing. And I thought, wow, okay, yeah, I sort of dread Mondays at this point because of just the stress. And it's interesting. I think hindsight is 2020 because I don't even think I had the language then that I do now to explain why I felt so unsettled there. I can see now being so young, being a female, being Asian American, it was just a very toxic male culture. Being in a setting of corporate where I am in a very creative place, as an art director in the ad industry. I'm at a coffee shop with my writing partner, just drinking coffee, talking jokes, and writing down funny ideas. That's fun.
Mhm.
But I think just the structure and the confines and so many things just didn't sit right with me. And so he had said that day, Donnie Deutsch. And then I remember there was one night where my partner and I were at the agency till about 12 or 1 in the morning. And I was driving home and I thought to myself, if I got into a car accident right now, this wouldn't be so bad. Like, not enough to kill me, but just enough where I don't have to go to
Oh
work,
dear.
maybe.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember having this conversation while I'm driving home, and I realized this is not healthy. I cannot be in a work environment. It doesn't matter how hard I work to get here and what I overcame to do it. This is not a healthy mindset. And at that point, that's when I realized I had to do something. And that something wasn't even like, I need to get a new job. It was, I just need something to make me feel happy again. I can't be this miserable and want to get in a car accident coming home from work.
That's so powerful. Both it's sort of in a way your boss was the one who told you that you should be leaving, right? That's quite interesting because,
Yeah.
as you say, I think a lot of us just assume that this is normal. Work isn't supposed to be fun. There's this kind of social media meme thing that Monday, oh, I hate Mondays, and then Friday, hey, it's the weekend. And that's so deeply ingrained that we think that's normal. And then, as you said, it's ironic because a lot of us, I hear from people again and again, they wish they were made redundant because then they could do what they want. It's like, hang on a second, we don't have to be in an accident or be fired from our jobs in order to make a different decision. So it's a strange one. When you look at it from the outside, it makes a lot of sense, but I think it is hard when you're in it to actually sort of realize the reality of that. So what did you do then? And what did you actively decide to do to change your situation once you realized that maybe it wasn't so healthy to be wishing yourself into a car accident?
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm a big believer in small steps.
Mm,
And again, this
me
is
too.
hindsight of 2020, right? But like I said, at that time, it wasn't, oh my God, I got to go update my resume and LinkedIn to find a new
Mm,
job. Because I realized it would probably be the same somewhere else.
mm,
If I went into another ad agency, it would probably be the same. So my whole thing was, what can I do right now in this situation just to make myself a little bit happier because this is not working?
mm,
And so I decided to start taking headshots of homeless dogs to help them get adopted. And I did this as volunteer work on the weekend because as an art director, I really realized the power of really good imagery. And I thought, hey, if I can take a really great photo of this dog, I believe people will want to come to a live adoption event, meet
mm,
them, and then potentially adopt them. And this happened for me because I had adopted my own dog not too long before this moment. And I was just such a firm believer in dog rescue and adoption. And I thought I could use my skills to add value to something and help. And in doing that, maybe I could find a little bit of happiness. So I put an ad out on Craigslist. I said, hey, I'm an art director. I want to take photos for your rescue group. Please contact me. I found a great group called the Dog Squad here in LA. And I started taking headshots of these little homeless dogs. And people started coming in from everywhere to meet these dogs. Those photos were really making a difference. This was back in
mm,
2008. And people started asking me, hey, can you do this for my dog?
mm,
And I turned that into a side hustle pet photography business. So while I was working my incredibly stressful job at the agency, I was working nights and weekends at my pet photography business. It blew up faster than I could have imagined. I attribute that, I think, to the fact that I was creating photography that I would want.
mm.
I didn't feel like what I would want as somebody who loves art direction and design and just this very certain aesthetic. Back in 2008, that just did not exist. This very lifestyle, airy look that is very prominent now, that just didn't exist for the pet world in 2008. And so I was shooting images that I wanted. My business blew up so much faster than I could have imagined. And I realized, okay, I need to quit my job and see what will happen if I invest the time and the energy full time into this business. And people thought I was nuts because this was during the Great Recession in the United States where everybody was losing their jobs. The ad industry in particular, people were saying about 50% of the people in the ad industry had been let go. And I had just received a raise at work because my partner and I had launched a series of TV commercials that went viral. And I got this raise and I walked into my boss's office and I said, hey, I'm quitting. And people thought I was crazy because I'm quitting this job to become a pet photographer.
Mm.
And I did it. I did it. That was back in about 2008, 2009. It was about 9 months of side hustling. And then I said, you know what, I gotta do this.
That's so interesting as well. As you said, you didn't go like, okay, I need to start a business and then I'm going to map out my passions and, all these tools that we kind of give people to help them work out. It actually happened quite organically that you just felt, no, I need to do something I'm passionate about. It was something, as you said, that you had an eye for, an interest in, your own personal experience. And then that then very luckily in a way, but quite cleverly, I guess, also proved to be a good business idea. So it sounds quite
Yeah.
easy now. What were the challenges then? You said people sort of thought you were crazy. Was there a lot of pushback from people around you? What was the hardest part about making the transition?
I think the hardest part about making the transition was just the fear of being able to make the money, and not knowing, can I do this? And I think that that fear was valid, right? We're in a recession. Are people going to spend money? It could be considered frivolous to spend money, hundreds of dollars, on taking pictures of your pets. I was very fortunate to not get pushback from my boyfriend, who was not my husband at the time. He was incredibly supportive of what I was doing. And I had certain friends who just didn't understand and they weren't interested in what I was doing. And at that point, I was kind of like, maybe you're not really my friend if this sounds ridiculous to you and you can't support me. But for the most part, I think it was just the fear of what is going to happen. And, it wasn't even really that big of a fear because I always felt like, well, I can always go back to advertising. If this doesn't work out, I can go back. It's not a big deal. For me, the bigger fear is regret. I would never want to look back on my life and say, why didn't I just try? Why didn't I just do this? What is the big deal? If I don't make money and I quote unquote fail at it, there is no harm. I should be proud of myself because I took the initiative and tried. And I think trying takes more courage than to not do anything at all. So I think just overcoming that obstacle of the fear of what can happen, am I going to be able to make money doing this? And then actually just doing it really paid off.
Yeah. I think there's a point at which the pain of staying actually outweighs the fear of sort of the unknown. As you say, and a lot of people say the worst case scenario is, okay, I try to get another job. I mean, if it doesn't work out, and at least then I've tried and I know that it's not something that I wanted to do or not that worked out or whatever. So it sounds like you had a supportive partner. It sounds like you had your own sort of internal convictions. Anything else that you found really helpful to you during that time or really helped you to overcome that fear and the uncertainty?
I really think, I don't even think this was called this back then, or maybe it wasn't. I didn't know, but just mindset work.
Yeah.
And really digging deep. I mean, so I have a podcast now called Creativity School. And what I say is you need to do the work on the inside to make sure you get the best work out on the outside. And it was just, again, me very organically stumbling into this work and realizing I need to overcome, this lack mentality, this poverty mindset, feeling like there wasn't enough. Like, oh my God, this new pet photographer started. Now this is less business for me. I think that was a really big thing that I had to learn to overcome, feeling like I'm constantly in competition with people. And I realized there's enough for everybody. And if somebody goes to somebody else, it's because they were meant to be their client. I used to take it so personally. Like there's something wrong with me. Why didn't they choose me? They came to me for my pricing, but now I see they're working with somebody else. There's something wrong with me. And overcoming that kind of thinking and really stepping into a place of abundance and realizing there really is enough for everybody. We're not meant to get every client out in the universe. That is just not even possible. I think that helped me so much.
That's incredibly powerful, and I think it just takes a bit of time because it's easy to hear that, isn't it? But when you're first starting out, and in your case, it sounded like you had a lot of clients come to you organically anyway, but sometimes maybe it's a bit slower and we're not seeing the results, and then it's quite difficult to sort of hold on to that and be like, yeah, it's fine that nobody wants my services. It's not meant to be. So definitely, lots of mindset work is incredibly powerful. So, what's the best part of what you're doing at the moment, both sort of work wise and then how it's changed your life away from the stress of the corporate agency world?
Yeah, the best part is I get to make the work that I want to make that is coming from my soul. Like I said, with advertising, I was being creative and making things, but it wasn't meaningful to me. And I get to create work now that is meaningful to me, and I have such great intention behind it. And I get to now spread this energy through what I create and have it impact somebody else out there. So I think there's such great power in the fact that I get to be exactly who I am, channel that into my work and have that impact other people. And I love that. I mean, yes, the freedom is a great thing. I'm speaking to you at 9 in the morning on a Monday and I'm not in an office. Yes,
Woo!
that freedom is
Yeah.
wonderful. One of the reasons why I wanted to quit advertising is because I just felt like, how do you possibly juggle a schedule like this with being a mom? I wasn't a mom at the time, but just thinking long term, I did not have any female role models in the ad industry. I had one, actually. I was so fortunate. She was my boss. She was the creative director. She's now off being like the executive creative director at an amazing agency, but she had a stay-at-home husband who raised their 2 kids. Like, that's the reason why I say I didn't really have any role models per se, is because that's not possible for me. Like, I knew my husband would not be a stay-at-home dad, and just the thought of juggling that schedule with children, with family, there is zero work-life balance in the ad industry. I would say it's like being a doctor on call, but you're not saving lives. To be free from that and to be able to make my own schedule in my life, yes, all of that is amazing. But I think the greatest thing for me is that I truly get to make work that is meaningful and I get to share that.
Beautiful. And so what advice would you have then? You've already shared quite a few different insights there, I think that will be helpful. But if someone's at that point, as you were, that actually I've worked really hard to get into this career, but it's not where I want to be, what would you say to them now going forwards?
I would say really pay attention to what makes you happy. I say it's like following breadcrumbs. It's step by step, tiny little clues. As I shared, it wasn't like I had this giant aha moment and realized I had to jump from here to there. It was me listening to myself and realizing what would make me happy in this moment now. What can I do that will make me happy? And that little breadcrumb led me to taking photos. That was volunteer work. And then the next breadcrumb was, oh, hey, maybe this can be a business. And then I just kept following each little breadcrumb. And now I'm not even doing what I started doing. I started as a family pet photographer. You could hire me for special occasions or just because you wanted lovely family photos, but that's not what I'm doing now. I followed the breadcrumbs to now become a commercial and editorial photographer. And I followed the breadcrumbs yet again to focus on creating work that's meaningful to me. And that's the work that I've shot that's gone viral and that's been turned into dog photography books. So I really want people to realize it's not about finding these big aha moment epiphanies and having to make these giant leaps from point A to point Z. It's about really going in and paying attention to what makes you happy and just taking those little tiny steps, because you never know where that will lead you. I shared I'm a podcaster now. I never imagined in a million years that I would have my own show where I'm talking to people. I would never imagine that back in 2008 when I picked up my camera. And I think that is the beautiful thing about tapping into your creativity and paying attention to what you like, because it leads you down a path that you cannot even begin to imagine.
Oh, so articulately and beautifully said. I mean, I the same. I had no idea what a podcast was, I think, when I left my job, 6 years ago. So I think it's incredible that those things come. And follow the breadcrumbs. I haven't heard it put that way before either. I think that's really powerful. We tend to think in black and white terms. Either I'm in this terrible, stressful job, or I'm over here and I have everything figured out and I have the perfect business model and so on. But as you said, you never can make that leap, or if you do, you're incredibly lucky. I don't think I've come across that before. It's much more, okay, I'm trying this and that didn't, and this, and then you just sort of say yes to different opportunities. So that's really lovely to hear and some great advice there. Thank you so much. So where can we find out more about you? First of all, I guess your photography, your website. Tell us where you are in the online space.
Yeah. My photography website is my name. It's gracechon.com. And that's, where I share my portfolio of work for what I shoot for ad agencies and all that fun stuff. My other website for my podcast is called creativityschoolpodcast.com. And that's where I am doing something very similar to you, Anna, where I'm talking to people sharing their journeys on their own personal creativity, the path that they're following for their own personal creativity. And oftentimes we have to overcome so many things to get to that point. So we're really talking about what they've overcome and the obstacles they've faced and the amazing, incredible work they're making now because they did that. So that's creativityschoolpodcast.com. And then I'm on Instagram every day. It's at the Grace Chon.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to link to those in case people want to follow you there and have a listen to the podcast, which I'm definitely going to do after this. So thank you so much, Grace. Really lovely to hear your story, and so happy for you that you found a way to sort of combine so many of your different skills and loves, and that you're doing that meaningful work now. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I love what you're doing with your book and this video series you're doing. So thank you. It's really great to be on.
Thank you.